Is this the weekend the hammer falls on Michigan football? Their Spygate sign stealing hearing with the NCAA is this weekend. I'll tell you what to expect. Locked on Big Ten starts right now.
You are Locked on Big Ten, your daily podcast on the Big Ten Conference. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to Locked on Big Ten. I'm Craig Sheeman. 40 years as a sports talk show host and play-by-play announcer, and I want to thank you for making us your first listen each and every day. We're free and available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Hit that free subscribe button down below. We're making our push to 20,000 subscribers. That way you'll never miss a single episode. Also ask you to share, like, and follow. That'll help us out a lot too. So today, Spygate, sign stealing, NCAA hearing, all boiling together here right now. We'll have all the latest on that. Plus, a big dose of recruiting, big weekends, visiting weekends, all that stuff. We'll dial you into it. Plus, we'll have our Pigskin picks. We're going to look at which Big Ten teams have the best chance to win a national championship. We'll do that at the end. But first, we want to talk about Michigan. Look, it might not be a game weekend at Michigan, but it's a big weekend for Michigan football. Today and tomorrow, the NCAA hearing for the Connor Stalions Spygate sign-stealing investigation that came to light in the middle of the 2023 undefeated national championship season is here. It's happening. It's now. Jim Harbaugh, of course, was the head coach. He's long gone since all this happened, along with many coaches that were on his staff. But head coach Sherrone, he was the team's offensive coordinator back in the day, on the day that the story broke. And on that day, he deleted 52 text messages between himself and Connor Stalions. Those messages were later retrieved and reviewed by the NCAA as part of this investigation. To this day, we do not know what those text messages said. We don't know the content of those text messages. But after receiving a notice of allegations from the NCAA several months ago, Michigan tried to get ahead of the situation and self-imposed a 2-game suspension of more for the 2025 season. So is there smoke where there's fire? What's going on here? Oddly, the suspension will take place in weeks 3 and 4 against Central Michigan and Nebraska. And it seems like Michigan wants more to be available for week 1 against New Mexico, because that's when 5-star freshman quarterback Bryce Underwood will make his collegiate debut. And maybe more importantly, Michigan's big road game in week 2 at Oklahoma, which happens to be Moore's alma mater, in addition to it being a humongous game, Big Ten versus the SEC, all that good stuff. Michigan hopes that this arrangement of this self-imposed suspension will be a satisfactory punishment for the NCAA. But will it be? If you read any message boards, if you read message boards from Ohio State, if you're a Michigan fan, don't read the Ohio State message boards. They've been feverishly waiting for this day. If I had $1 for every time that I read or heard from a Buckeye fan, or a Michigan hater for that matter, suggests that the hammer is going to fall on more Michigan, I'd be a rich man. I mean, it has happened a lot. There are a lot of people that think Moore will or should be suspended for a year, believe it or not. Others think Michigan will have wins taken away and their championship rescinded. That's not going to happen, by the way. Don't even think about it. That's too extreme. The NCAA isn't in the business of doing that anymore. They really don't. Especially when you've got the NCAA president, Charlie Baker, on the record saying that Michigan won its 2023 national championship fair and square, and it was not tainted or aided by anything from Spygate. Kind of hard to go backward on that if you're the NCAA. But what about other penalties? That's not off the table. Recruiting restrictions, fines, a longer suspension for more. That's all on the table here this weekend after this hearing. Now, we won't know right away. So they'll have the hearing today and tomorrow. And then by rule, the NCAA has 45 days to announce their final ruling against Michigan on this matter. 45 days from now, that'll be day 1 of Big Ten Media Days, live from Las Vegas, officially kicking off the 2025 college football season. Yeah, it's going to be a circus, one way or the other. But the truth is, Moore could get a longer suspension here. Jim Harbaugh got a 4-year show cause penalty for previous infractions. By the way, Harbaugh may get more added onto that from this hearing. That's all grouped together here. It's a moot point because he's gone off to the NFL. But we're the only ones talking about that here on this Locked On Big Ten podcast. Former assistant Steve Clinkscale got 2 years show cause. Jesse Minter got 1 year. And these were for recruiting violations and impermissible contact during a period where they were not allowed to do so. So will the NCAA be satisfied with just a 2-gamer after giving his other colleagues some pretty big suspension or pretty big penalties? We're not sure. But if they do find him guilty with any of this here, he would be considered a repeat offender in the eyes of the NCAA, and that's important here. Remember, back in the day when Jim Harbaugh got his first 3-game suspension for Burgergate, Moore got a game. He was out for 1 game for all that. So, yeah, the NCAA would look at him as a repeat offender if anything comes out of this weekend. In my opinion, and that's what I do here, I give you the news, the analysis, and the opinion. My opinion is it all comes down to the content of those 52 text messages between Moore and Stalions. That's the whole thing right here. If the content is incriminating in any way, he could get a longer punishment here. The 2 games won't be enough. If there's nothing to see here, then Moore's self-imposed 2-gamer should close the book on this saga. Should be done, over with. And that's what Michigan wants. They want this over. They want to move on. But if there's nothing to see here, why did Michigan self-impose a 2-game suspension on Moore ahead of time? Just out of the blue. Just for the fun of it? No, there's got to be some there. How much? I don't know. But if we're going to be fair, whether you're a Michigan fan or not, whether you're a Michigan hater or not, we have to be fair. There's probably something there. I mean, there was an actual notice of allegations. So the NCAA did find things that were wrong, and Michigan went ahead and gave themselves a 2-game suspension. There's some there. But again, the severity of which I think comes down to these 52 text messages. In previous podcasts here on Locked On Big Ten, we've also wondered about the effects of all this circus on Bryce Underwood. You know, he's still 17 years old. He doesn't turn 18 until August, and then he's going to be the starting quarterback on day 1 in Michigan. And he got a lot on his plate. And look, it would be ideal to have his head coach at his side throughout all this. I think he can handle a couple of games if that's what it comes down to with the suspension with Sherrone Moore. Although remember, unlike the Harbaugh situation, Harbaugh could still be around his team. He could coach Sunday through Friday night, Saturday morning. Just couldn't be on the sidelines during the games and coaching. The Sherrone Moore self-imposed suspension is much different. It's a 2-week block, no contact with Bryce Underwood, no contact with the coaching staff, no contact with anybody in the Michigan football program for 2 weeks. He has to disappear. So much different than what Harbaugh went through. And plus Harbaugh coached throughout the week and then handed off the reins to everybody. That was a well-oiled machine. J.J. McCarthy knew what he was doing. He was a seasoned veteran, unlike Bryce Underwood, brand new to all this. So, yeah, it could affect him differently. Absolutely. But what if the suspension's longer than 2 games? Maybe it's 4 games. What if it's half a season, 6 games? What if it's a whole season? How does that affect Underwood and his desire to remain in Michigan? Because I can guarantee you other schools are still trying to poach him to this day. And, they're going to try and get him to leave at the end of the year, regardless of whether everything goes perfectly or whether it's a difficult year. Love your thoughts and comments on this, Michigan fan. Hit me up. Or Michigan hater. What do you think is going to happen? By the way, in other Michigan news, Michigan made a legacy offer to 2027 safety Charles Woodson Jr., who, of course, is the son of Pro Football Hall of Famer and Michigan's 1997 Heisman Trophy winner, Charles Woodson. The younger Woodson is a 5'11" defensive back from Orlando, and he begins his junior year of high school with a bunch of offers in his pocket already. Florida State, Iowa State, Kentucky, Ole Miss, Syracuse, A&M. I'm sure plenty more will come. but wanted to pass that along today as long as we're talking about Michigan. We have some more recruiting news coming up in just a second, but be sure to hit that free subscribe button down below, and that way you'll never miss an episode. Share, follow, and like Locked On Big Ten. That helps us out a lot. Thank you. And don't forget, we have a website, talkbig10.com, number 10. All of our podcasts go there, and links to school merchandise. You want some Michigan shirts, T-shirts, hats, all right there, getting you ready for the 2025 football season. So Ryan Day's preferred playoff format. We know what the commissioners think. We talked about it all week. What about Ryan Day? And also the Buckeyes scheduled a season opener for 2029. We'll let you in on that. We mentioned recruiting. We talked about Michigan a moment ago. We got updates on Illinois and Wisconsin and Rutgers. We got a little bit of news on Penn State and Michigan State. Plus, we will have our Pigskin picks, the odds to win a national championship out of the Big Ten. It's top heavy. A lot of Big Ten teams at the top of that list. We'll get to all that. It's coming up next right here on Locked On Big Ten. FanDuel is fun. FanDuel makes watching games, which are already exciting. That's why we're fans. But then you got a little something on it with FanDuel. Now it's really exciting. Get you on the edge of your seat. NBA Finals, jump in. Whether it be the game, point spreads, Oklahoma City, a heavy favorite to win the entire city. I don't know. Pacers, they've been an underdog throughout the entire playoffs, and they keep overcoming. SGA and Tyrese Halliburton, take the overs on all their points and all their assists. Those guys are just going to crank out stats here. You can come out on top with all of that. FanDuel makes it easy to stay in a game from tip-off if you're, placing a bet ahead of time, or live in-game action. You're like, man, this game's going a certain way. I'm going to jump in. It's past tip-off. It doesn't matter. You can do it. Same game parlays, performance trends. It's all there. Many, many ways for you to jump in and have fun. And how does a $200 bonus sound? $200 in bonus bets added if you win your first $5 bet if you're brand new. If you are brand new, let me tell you what to do. If you're new to FanDuel, it's the perfect time to sign up. Head to FanDuel.com and place your first $5 bet. If it wins, you get $200 in bonus bets. Make every moment more with FanDuel, official sports betting partner of the NBA. Thanks for making Locked On Big Ten your first listen each and every day, especially everydayers out there. Meanwhile, hit that free subscribe button as we make a push to 20,000 subscribers before the start of football season. You're a big part of that. Thank you very much. Also, share, follow, and like Locked On Big Ten, your team every day. And check out our website, talkbig10.com, where all of our podcasts go, and your school merchandise right at your fingertips there. So we've had a lot of conversation this week about the future format of the college football playoffs. And it's been a lot of interesting conversation, a lot of different ideas bouncing around, trying to figure out who's in alliance with who and against who. It's crazy. It's fun. It's crazy. Of course, the SEC now seems to be going with the 5+1 format, while the Big Ten likes it where the two Power 2 conferences, the SEC and the Big Ten, get 4 automatic qualifiers in the playoffs each and every year. All this for a 16-team playoff. Well, count Ryan Day, Ohio State Buckeyes coach, among those that want 4 automatic qualifiers guaranteed for the Big Ten. He says, look, we're the Big Ten, and we got 18 teams. A lot of them are good, and we feel like we deserve 4 automatic spots. He also made an interesting comment that I thought that, Big Ten was good before. Now we got 4 of the best Pac-12 teams in, and he said that, look, 1 or 2 of those teams would have earned a playoff spot if they were still with the Pac-12. Now they're in our league in addition to our league. More additional good teams in the Big Ten. Yeah, we should carve out some spots that are automatic. It's an interesting point. Good point by Ryan Day. He also thinks that automatic qualifiers will give teams incentives to schedule tougher, better non-conference games. Of course, Buckeyes, you don't get any tougher with what they're opening with this year. The Buckeyes open up 2025 with a date against Texas. Now, moving forward, that's not always the case. Ohio State will host Navy to open up the 2029 season. They just announced that this week. It'll be their first meeting since 2014. It's the 6th meeting overall between the two schools. The Buckeyes, as you can imagine, are 5-0 in those previous meetings against Navy. Ohio State had to bump its date with Nevada to 2030 to open up some space. And the Buckeyes also added a non-conference game versus Youngstown State for September 15th, 2029. So 2029 is going to open up with Navy and Youngstown State. That we know for sure. If you want to play the Buckeyes, by the way, they have an open date for their 2030 season opener right now on August 31st. They're looking. Back to Ohio State's last meeting against Navy. Back in 2014, the Buckeyes were only up by 3 points in the fourth quarter of that game, 20-17. But then Ezekiel Elliott and Michael Thomas, they scored to give Ohio State a 34-13 victory in that game. Ohio State went on to go 14-1, beat Oregon 42-20 in the Rose Bowl, and won the national championship. So there you go. Trying to repeat some history, maybe. New Michigan State athletic director, Jay Batt, he says that the Spartans are a top 10 athletic department in the country. And, they have to prove it, though. And he wants the football program to lead the way. Now he inherits Coach Jonathan Smith, we didn't hire. Smith is entering his second year in charge of the Spartans. They lost 7 games last year as Smith and everybody tried to get their feet wet. Batt was hired for his fundraising prowess at Georgia Tech, and he hopes to duplicate that effort in East Lansing, and also going to want his football team to win some football games. Brett Bielema zeroing in on a couple of 4-star linebackers to beef up his future defense. He's got them, and they're staying committed, so that all looks good. They both made visits to Illinois this past weekend during recruiting weekend, and both of them, Cam Thomas and Caden Cobbs, both doubled down, reiterated on social media that they're still coming. A lot of times kids will commit and they'll take visits to other places, but they're coming here to Illinois. And in fact, both Cam Thomas and Caden Cobbs both wrote on social media, 1,000% committed. Both of them. Exact words. Let's talk some Wisconsin football for a minute. Jack Janda. He is the second tight end recruit to commit to the class of 2026 for the Badgers. 6'6", 240-pound tight end from Detroit. Jack Severs, who we mentioned a couple weeks ago that he was coming. He is coming. He locked in recently. He's the other tight end, and he actually finally committed this week. We talked about him a couple weeks ago as kind of zeroing in. It's done. He did it. 6'4", 230 pounds. He's from Seattle. So 2 tight ends coming in for this class. Yesterday, we talked about how Wisconsin's kind of zero in. They got one big name receiver coming in. They're trying to get 2 more. Just big receiver group. You get a couple of tight ends here. Maybe we get the right quarterback. We're throwing the ball. Keep an eye on Wisconsin and Luke Fickell working hard. Let's catch up with Rutgers for a moment. The school just hired a president, by the way, William F. Tate the fourth. That's a presidential name, right? William F. Tate the fourth, president of Rutgers, came from LSU. Now that that's done, they can focus on hiring an athletic director. The school hired a search firm to help find a candidate, and word is they're searching for a non-traditional candidate. I don't know what that means. Maybe again, more of a fundraiser. As for the football team, Greg Schiano, solid as a rock. He closed 7 commits over the weekend during a recruiting visit weekend. And by the way, the recruits who were in, they got to meet Shaquille O'Neal this past weekend in Times Square for dinner. Cool little sidebar there. Their commits include a 6'5", 3-star quarterback and Xavier Stern, a 6'7", 310-pound, 3-star offensive tackle Tyrell Simpson, a 6'6", 280-pound offensive tackle Tyler Duell, who is a 4-star, by the way. Adam Shaw, 3-star linebacker from New Jersey, staying home. Brady Owens, a 6'5", 300-star tight end from Virginia. Logan Anthony, a 6'4", 350-pound 3-star from Pennsylvania, a guard. By the way, they really well. I think they got 3 commits for the state of Pennsylvania. And Rinaldi Callaway III, a 3-star athlete from Georgia. So good job, Greg Schiano, getting a lot of talent. And did you see the size? A lot of big athletes coming to Rutgers. Going to be tough in the trenches again. Very solid week for Greg Schiano. And we got a Penn State update on redshirt freshman defensive end Max Granville. He's dealing with a frustrating long-term injury now all of a sudden. Now, what's weird is he played in 7 games last year and had to play in the Fiesta Bowl win over Boise State when NFL first-rounder Abdul Carter was injured. He participated in all of spring, participated in the blue-white spring game. No problems there, it seemed like. But as usual, James Franklin is pretty tight-lipped about any injury information with his guys unless they're season enders. So we know nothing about the injury. We know nothing about the timetable. We just know that it looks like it's a long-term deal. Wanted to pass that along. All right, coming up, we got our Pigskin picks. I've taken the odds, checked them. They've changed a little bit since the last time we did this. Kind of looked at the top 10 teams in the country as far as the shortest odds to win a national championship. It's heavy with the Big Ten teams. And then we broke it off on the bottom where we listed the rest of the Big Ten teams. I'll tell you what the odds are of your favorite Big Ten team winning the national championship. That's coming up next in our Pigskin Pick segment right here on Locked On Big Ten. Okay, let's do this here on Locked On Big Ten. It's time for our Pigskin Picks. You know, we always have features at the end of the show. Mondays, we do our top 10 observations from the weekend around the Big Ten. Tuesdays are Tuesday tweets. Wednesdays, we do power rankings. Thursdays, we look ahead to the Big Ten Network and we highlight some Big Ten classics and some live action you might be interested in. And Friday, we make picks or look at odds or we come up with something. It's always fun. Let's do it. I'm going to put it on screen here. If you're on audio only, no problem. We'll describe what we're going to see. These odds were grabbed by FanDuel, by the way, our official sports book. And thank you to that. So college football championship winner. This is to win it all. Georgia, Texas, and Ohio State all coming in best odds at plus 600. You know, those odds will get tweaked a little bit because Texas and Ohio State play each other in week 1. But I also find it interesting because whoever loses that game, it's not going to hurt them one iota. I mean, it's a big game. It's a non-conference game. Then you come out of that game and eventually you just dial in on trying to win your conference and get to the playoffs and go from there. So it's this kind of a game doesn't hurt the way it used to back in the day. But all their odds, Georgia, Texas, and Ohio State, all at plus 600. Look at Penn State right there with them at plus 800. Alabama rounds out the top 5 at plus 1,000. And then we got Clemson and Notre Dame at plus 1,400 odds. Then we drop a little bit to LSU at plus 1,700. Garrett Nussmeier, quarterback there. Klubnik, the quarterback at Clemson. These guys are going to have big years. We got Ole Miss rounding things out there at the top 10, Ole Miss. So then I dropped. Michigan was actually the 12th. But as you can see, there's a drop. This is where I picked it up. This is all Big Ten moving forward. So considering, Michigan's supposed to take a step forward this year, but with a freshman quarterback, plus 4,000 odds to win it all, just outside the top 10, according to Vegas. So that's interesting. And then there's USC at plus 10,000. Now we're dropping down the list a little bit more. We're going to look at all Big Ten moving forward here. So here's the rest of the list. Find your Big Ten team on this list. Illinois, Brett Bielema, plus 14,000. Still fair odds. They're going to be in the playoff mix. I have no doubt about that. Iowa at plus 15,000. Remember, Kirk Ferentz needs just one more win to tie Woody Hayes as the all-time Big Ten winner. And then we got Nebraska at plus 17,000 along with Indiana. Nebraska with Dylan Raiola at his second year as the starter. I'm very excited to see him. And I'm also very curious to see what Curt Cignetti does as an encore at Indiana after an 11-win season last year. But here he is at plus 17,000, which, look, Indiana wouldn't have even sniffed plus 50,000 in the past. This is how things have changed at Indiana. They might have even been lower than that. Washington, Jed Fish. I like their quarterback this year. I like them to jump up. They got plus 21,000. Then we got a cutoff after Washington. We got a big drop. We have to go way down the list. PJ Fleck in Minnesota, we see them coming in at 70,000 to one plus 70,000. Michigan State, we were just talking about Jonathan Smith. and his second-year quarterback, Aiden Childs, at plus 75,000. So they got some work to do if their new athletic director thinks that they're going to be a top 10 athletic department in the country. UCLA coming in at plus 85,000. And then we got 4 teams in the plus 100,000 range. Wisconsin, again, they got 7 ranked teams on the schedule this year. They're going to lose some games. Maryland, 4-win season last year. What are they going to do this year with Mike Loxley? Also coming in at plus 100,000. Then Northwestern, David Braun at plus 100,000. And then Purdue, new coach, new team. I think 1 starter's coming back. They lost what talent they had. Their tight end, he went off to Ohio State. The Edelman, their safety, went to Oregon. So they lost a lot of their talent, and that's why they're at the bottom there. Anyway, those are your odds, again, to win it all for the college football championship. But pretty good showing by the Big Ten up top with Ohio State, Penn State, and Oregon right there in the top 5 of the odds. All right, let me know what you think. Fair odds or not? Any misses by Vegas? Vegas never misses, right? That's why they got all those tall, beautiful buildings in Las Vegas. Las Vegas, the home of the Big Ten, apparently now. That's where the Big Ten Media Days will be next month. And before long, the Big Ten Championship game is going to be played there as well. So keep an eye on Vegas. It's where everything's happening. Keep an eye on us. We got a lot of stuff going on. Many ways for you to interact with us here on this podcast. First of all, I ask you, tell your friends about us, that we're here every day. If you're a Big Ten fan, if you're watching, you're a Big Ten fan. And that means you know other Big Ten people that don't know we're out here. We are the most unique Big Ten podcast in the world. We do this video. If you're on audio only, it's available audio wherever you get your podcast. But we cover all 18 teams, all the sports. And we have news. In addition to the news, we also throw in some pretty good analysis. And always, we're never afraid to put in our opinion. All those together under one umbrella right here makes us the premier Big Ten podcast in the world. And we always appreciate you guys being part of it each and every day. Hit us up on Twitter or X at TalkBig10. Also, you can find us on the website, talkbig10.com, where all of our podcasts go, plus also links for you to buy merchandise from your favorite Big Ten team, getting you ready with your school spirit for the 2025 football season. Be sure to hit that subscribe button. It's free before you go. That helps us out. That means you'll never miss an episode. And we're making a hard push to get to 20,000 subscribers before the start of football season. Like literally 2 years ago, we started with just over 1,000. And we just crossed 18.5. We're going to get to 20,000 with your help. Just hit that button before the start of football season. Also, I invite you to go back and check Second Listen. If you missed yesterday's podcast, check it out. Talking a lot about college football playoff formats, who wants what, who doesn't want what. It's pretty good. Go back and check it out. And also for a second listen, feel free to check out our friend Brian Smith at the Portal Show. Everything portal, who's going where, transfer portal, he's got it dialed in. He's your expert there. Everything with college football. So you can find the portal on YouTube, wherever you get your podcast. That'll do it for us. Have yourself a great weekend. I can't wait till we talk again on Monday. I'll keep an eye on everything out there, and we'll be right back on Monday. We'll have our top 10 observations from the weekend, among other things. And whatever big story breaks, if we hear anything from those NCAA hearings regarding Michigan, we'll be sure and jump all over that as well. For Locked On Big Ten, I'm Craig Sheeman. We'll talk to you next time.